The trend in gaming, and we've talked about it, is it goes back and forth. It's always a lot of what's old is new again. A lot of times the multiplayer is shooting up, and we don't care so much about single player. Right now we're in a trend where it's the single player that's shooting up, and we want to see really good single player games to go along with their multiplayer. So that's why we're getting this good mixture of single player, really good, really, really good single player games. But I think we're seeing a little bit more lackluster on the multiplayer side of games. So I think that's going to ramp up. I think Fortnite and PUBG, PUBG, I'm not as big of a fan of as Fortnite, as you know. And that, for me personally, I'm not a big fan of PUBG because of the control scheme. I think that they need to figure out a way to put, to let you completely customize your controls. And then I might be better with it. But Fortnite went from, me and you were excited to play Fortnite when it first came out. And then it came out and we were like, this is not that great. And then they put in a Battle Royale mode, and it turned into
a juggernaut.
A massive, massive juggernaut game. And there's going to be a ton of games that are going to be coming out with Battle Royale modes. So in that vein, I think that you're going to see a lot of multiplayer games come out because someone found a new horde mode, for lack of a better term. And what I mean by that, and I know you know that, you know what I'm going to say, but so everyone else knows, when horde mode came out, it was so much fun that every other game copied it. So many games put in horde mode style multiplayer because it was fun, and there needed to be a new type of multiplayer game mode that really grabbed your attention the way that did. And Battle Royale, it has been that mode this year, and you're going to see a ton of games that have it, and it's going to be done to death, but it's going to still be fun because it's really only two games. I mean, not only really two games only have it, which is PUBG, Fortnite. So you see Call of Duty with Battle Royale. You might see Battlefield V with Battle Royale. You might see Red Dead Redemption 2 with the rumors, quote unquote, that might have online Battle Royale mode. I mean, who knows how many of these games are, with multiplayer are going to do Battle Royale, but it's still such a fresh game mode. It's going to be really fun to see that mode in these other multiplayer games and see what they do with it.
My thing is, like, if you're going to go full multiplayer, you cannot just ignore this mode. It is going to be a staple. It's going to be part of your game to where it's got to be. There's got to be that part. And I know it's asking a lot. A game that has just regular multiplayer, a horde mode, and a battle royale would just pretty much just shit all over everything else. I don't see anything like coming in comparison to that. So if anybody ever does do that here in the upcoming year, I could see that being the next giant juggernaut to where you can do anything that you really want in a multiplayer game.
It does have to be done in a specific way, though. I don't think that you could just put those three modes and then go, okay, this game's gonna rule the world. I think that depending on the game, it has to adjust to that game itself. Like, I don't think every battle royale should be the same. Every battle royale needs to adjust to what the type of game you're playing.
Exactly.
Kind of going back to Gears, a battle royale in Gears would be, I think that'd be pretty badass if they could do it the right way. To have, horde mode in Gears is basically where, actually I should say it's where it started, but it's where it was, the first time I played horde mode and went, holy shit, this is amazing.
Like where
this is
became popular.
This is super fun to play with. Yeah, it's like, this is super fun to play with your friends. But if they could, evolve their horde mode even more to where it's more fun, and then you have a good single player, and you have a solid multiplayer, and then they have a battle royale mode that is tailored for Gears of War that's extremely fun. That's I'm not going to say it's a game changer, but it's definitely a huge move in the right direction. Now, they still have to have a good single player. Horde still has to be good, and multiplayer still has to be good. But if you also can hit, if you hit on all three of those, and you add in a battle royale mode, that would be, I mean, can you imagine people running around chainsawing each other? And doing it in multiplayer was fun as hell. Just running up and chainsawing right in the chest and cutting them in half. But doing it in a battle royale mode would be, like if you won that, you would feel so good. Like your final, like you versus someone else, and the final kill comes via a chainsaw to the chest, or you cut someone's head off. Like that would just be epic.
And it would have to change, like you said, like you'd have to be tailored to the game. Most of Gears of War is really littered close combat, lots of cover, lots of places to hide, all that kind of stuff, and the map would need to represent that. It could not be a giant open field with people just running around with chainsaws in the middle of it. Like, you could have some open areas,
Right.
and like some longer range weapons, but for an over the shoulder shooter like that, like, it would have to be a good portion of your map would just have to be, close quarters, lots of cover, runes, or whatever you got to do to portray that. Like, even just broken down cities and like stuff like that would be just awesome. Like, it'd just be a different setting. Like, you couldn't do it the same way as a Fortnite or PUBG because they're just so open that it's basically a sniping game at that point. Like, I'm sure there are some snipers in Gears of War, but that's not what makes it fun. The chainsaws is what makes it fun. So you'd have to tailor it a little bit better to that.
Yeah, and you couldn't, you can't do 100 people, or I mean, you might have to, tone it down to, maybe 32 people or something like that, because you're a hulking human being in Gears of War, so.
Yeah,
I
mean, even Gears of War,
or 26, something like that.
Even PUBG are coming out with different kind of modes where it's smaller like that, where smaller map, you land, get a gun, or I think you start with a gun. You start with a random gun and then you land. So like, not even like just like, even PUBG is like starting to like switch it up and do different things, which is good.
I think Battle Royale is really a game changer for multiplayer. It's going to give a lot of games that option. Now, whether games want to go in that direction, it's going to remain to be seen until we see more of the games that are coming out later in the year, and more specifically more multiplayer games. But that's just an example of a trend that is hitting on all the right notes now. Got two games that PUBG was the innovator. Fortnite just happened to have, by the luck of God, the ability to turn itself into a battle royale game.
Yeah.
So who's gonna take who's gonna be the next to take that ball and run with it, because that's gonna be a mode that's gonna be around for a while, and that just goes into what our original message is that there's multiplayer games and they're dedicated multiplayer games, and there's single player games that they have to be dedicated single player games to get the most out of the experience. That's just another tool for multiplayer games to use. It's not saying that it just has to be a battle royale mode. It's just that the innovation has to constantly be moving and be evolving. That just happened to be a mode that someone thought up of and was like, this is fun as hell. Maybe developers need to be constantly thinking, what other modes can we make that are fun just like that. Doesn't have to mean, I shouldn't say just like that, it doesn't have to be just like a battle royale, but there's other ideas that have yet to be thought of to make multiplayer games great.
I remember back in the day, I used to play Left 4 Dead 2, and on Left 4 Dead 2, they had pretty much a game mode that just changed every week. They had some game modes that were just way, way funner than the actual game. And each one of those like little game modes that were just a weekly update could have been its own game if they were so fun. So there's things out there, there's ways to do these games that completely different spin on the same thing, but shines it in a brand new light that brings it back to life and makes it fun again, and it's not just the same old thing.
One of the things that's kind of funny to me is Left 4 Dead still, it's such a popular game, and people have constantly asked for Left 4 Dead 3.
I do every day.
Everyone does. And one of the things that, a lot of multiplayer games have not hit on is, okay, so you're playing as the good guys, now you're playing as the bad guys. And I think that's something that could be also a really great multiplayer mode if done right, but no one's ever really explored doing that like to its fullest extent, with the exception of Left 4 Dead.
That's not, I would say Friday the 13th and a couple other games like White Noise, like these, like the horror type games, like playing as the evil villain guy, got very popular, at least for a little while, before everyone was like, okay, this is kind of boring now.
Right, but I'm talking
like
like
for multiplayer,
like big AAA titles that are, and I hate using the term AAA because not every game needs to be a AAA game to be a good game. But I'm talking big budget production games that you expect to hold your attention for longer than a few weeks, end up holding it for a week or so before you're like, this game was not worth $60. there's still so much more to explore within multiplayer. I think, even though multiplayer's been big now for what, close to or over a decade, I think maybe 10, 11 years. I'm kind of thinking Modern Warfare was the first like really big multiplayer. I mean, I guess you could say Halo 2,
Yeah, I
but
would probably say Halo 2 myself.
yeah, but not every, yeah, but Sony didn't have their online until PS3, and
I mean,
Halo 2 was on Xbox One.
you could get on SOCOM on PS.
That was one.
I
That
think,
was one game,
yeah, like, but other than that,
and
like,
that was, and you needed that. You still had a dial-up connection when you were playing SOCOM. You plugged that thing in with
but
the phone
still very
cord.
fun. Still very fun game. It was awesome.
Which
I remember playing that way back in the day. But
I am shocked that Sony has not looked into making SOCOM again.
in all honesty, yeah, if they did it right,
If they wanted a big multiplayer game, SOCOM's it. They could do SOCOM multiplayer only. Bam.
they'd have to change it up a little bit. Like the one thing that they were really like gung ho about was like the voice commands. I don't think anybody would give a crap about that anymore. But other than that, like I think it'd be a great game.
I mean, they could almost turn SOCOM into like a Counter-Strike Go or type.
Yeah, CS:GO. Yeah.
If they really wanted something like that, I mean, yeah, however they wanted to do. I'm sure people would want a big, huge production for SOCOM because it hasn't been around since PS2. But man, they really should do another SOCOM. I didn't even think about that till we were talking. Every developer needs to find their wheelhouse, absolutely hit it out of the park, and not everyone's going to do that because that's just not the nature of gaming. But I think that if more devs looked at it that way, as opposed to let's try to make something that's going to hit everybody, and because most of the time it does end up just mediocre. If more devs said, okay, we're this, so let's put all of our effort into this, which might be multiplayer or single player, you're probably going to end up with a lot better and a lot better quality again.
Exactly.
And games.